Let's go.
You're about to experience action like you've never heard it before. Action sports, celebrities, badasses, and massive interviews. All coming to you from the Polaris Razor Studio. This is Jim Beaver's Project Action, exclusively on Podcast One.
Welcome to Project Action on Podcast One. I'm your host, Jim Beaver. We're here with another Anything Goes edition of all things action, man. This week, in honor of the upcoming Conor McGregor fight, we're going back into the archives, mainly because I'm traveling, but we've got an amazing guest, one of my favorite interviews, with UFC ring girl Brittney Palmer. Yes, she's going to be on the show this week. This throws it back a couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to re-airing this one for a lot of you that may have missed it the first time around. So big shout out to Brittney Palmer, our guest this week right here on Project Action. If you're new to the show, hit me up on social media at JimBeaver15, and please give us a follow over there. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating review if you have the chance and you're so inclined. And I think you'll like it. You never know quite who's going to pop up on the show. But before we get to this Brittney Palmer interview, we do have a couple of amazing partners right here on Project Action that I want to get to. You know, car waxes have come a really long way. Over the last few years, Meguiar's has launched their next generation of protective products with their hybrid ceramic platform that's specifically geared towards do-it-yourselfers. It all started 2 years back. Meguiar's introduced their hybrid ceramic spray wax. Bright blue bottle and its advanced SiO2 hybrid technology delivers ceramic wax protection and durability beyond traditional waxes. It's incredibly easy to use. Simply wash your car, spray on Meguiar's hybrid ceramic spray wax, then just rinse it right off. No rubbing, no curing, no buffing, or mess. Provides extreme water-beating action, and the product has literally been flying off the shelves. Then last year, knowing some prefer a more traditional style of application, Meguiar's launched their liquid version, Meguiar's hybrid ceramic liquid wax, with long-lasting ceramic protection and easy-to-use wax. Seals the paint for long-lasting protection against the elements. Delivers extreme water-beating action, easy to use, applying like a traditional liquid wax with no wax residue. Meguiar's also launched a hybrid ceramic spray detailer for in-between boosted maintenance. Removes contaminants like dust, fingerprints, and those evil bird droppings. Boosts gloss and enhances protection. Also includes SiO2 hybrid ceramic protection. Achieve a just wash look by gently removing fresh contaminants between regular washes before they have a chance to bond. And this year, they've expanded the line to include Meguiar's new hybrid ceramic wash and wax. It's a bright orange bottle. Its unique two-liquid system combines together in one bucket that delivers results unlike anything you've experienced before. It's blended with slick, low-sudsing surfactants that gently lift and wash away dirt and grime. Its SiO2 boost is a wax additive that delivers instant water-beating protection. Working in tandem, you get a slick and clean vehicle that beads water like crazy. Optimize your results and your washing experience with Meguiar's new hybrid wash mitt. Yes, it's dual-sided for gentle washing and adding the booster wax. The Meguiar's hybrid wash mitt is sold separately. Now, Meguiar's has a hybrid ceramic solution for everyone. For incredible water-beating and protection and durability beyond traditional waxes, it's ceramic made easy. It's Meguiar's. And you own or rent your home? I'm sure you do. And you know what? It is definitely hard work. But you know what's not? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. And with that, we're going to roll into this interview with Brittney Palmer. Welcome my guest to Project Action this week, UFC Octagon girl and artist Brittney Palmer. How's everything going, Brittney?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you are you back from Chicago? You still in Chicago? How's that work out with travel and UFC?
I'm back from Chicago. I arrived yesterday morning. I travel with the UFC. I do the big pay-per-view events. It's good. Life's good. Traveling can be a little hard sometimes, but I've been doing it for so long that I kind of have my rhythm, so it works out.
Yeah, well, and I guess travel's probably got a little bit easier for you now. I mean, not easier, but I know at one point with the UFC, I mean, you were working just about every single weekend, right? Now, is it just kind of the major pay-per-view events they bring you in for?
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, that was a choice that both Ariane and I had made because we were doing every single event, an Ultimate Fighter, and we were just always constantly at the airport. And then, we both just kind of needed a little time to do what we both, have going on other than working with UFC. And UFC is such a great company to work for and to be with as long as I have been. And they were, happy to oblige. And, there are times when, you say, like when the UFC was in Austin, and I love Austin, my best friend lives there, and it was a smaller fight. But if I ask Dana, he'll let me work. If I'm like, oh, I really want to go to Austin, they'll have no problem. But yeah, it's pretty much just the big cards.
Yeah, you feel like, and I know I've done this, now it's kind of to the point where with TV and everything else I'm established, so I don't want to say pick and choose because you still want to stay busy, but it's like there for a while I was on the road every single weekend. Now it's like every other weekend maybe I'm on the road, and it's like I feel like I've got a little bit of normalcy to my life. But I feel like when you're getting established, you almost have to take like every last gig, every last call. You have to be on the road. It's like we'll travel, we'll work,
Yeah, and then you build a certain name within the company you're with, because I did that with UFC for so long, I'm considered one of the OGs, it's just because I was just such a staple with the company. So, and when I was, a little bit younger and didn't have as much going on, it was fun and I got to see the world. But I mean, how many times can you go to all these places? And, I've been to everywhere and, yeah, it was really, really fun in the beginning, and it still is so much fun, but it's nice. It's when I have 2 weeks off, I feel like it's like a year. I'm just like, oh God, I have so much time on my hands, even though it's only like 2 weeks. But yeah, it makes your home time quality.
Yeah, well, and I got a question for you because I know me working in motorsports, like I've been to pretty much every city in this country at this point, every major city, but I don't feel like I see anything other than the airport, the racetrack, maybe a restaurant or a bar, but it's not like it's fly in, 2 or 3 days worth of work, fly out. It's like I don't really get to see everything. I mean, have you been able to build in like time where you're actually able to see, spend an extra day and just kind of explore the city and things like that, or are you pretty much on that, it's just a grind where it's in, out, work?
Well, I mean, it depends on what city I'm in. Like, for instance, when I go to Vancouver, I always make sure to take the late flight home on Sunday or an early flight in on Thursday so I can have that extra day. I mean, last time Ariane and I went to Vancouver, we did a helicopter photo shoot tour through Whistler, like through the mountains, and it was beautiful. And or if I'm in New York, same thing. I go early on Thursday and I stay late till Sunday or Monday and just like make some time. Chicago was a little different. I was in New York before Chicago, so I wasn't able to attend the weigh-ins. And then I had to fly home yesterday. So that was just like a 1-day thing, but it just depends, sometimes we squeeze in some, extra days to play around wherever we are, or sometimes we just come right back.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned Ariane a couple times. I wanted to ask you about your guys' friendship. I mean, how did that all steamroll? Because prior to you working with UFC, I mean, you guys had never met, right? Or, and it's just slowly you've traveled so much together. It's become, this, you guys are, it just seems like even on social media, you guys are always together and things like that. I mean, how did that friendship build?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Ariane and I both grew up in the same town. We're both from Las Vegas. We went to high schools that were, not far away from each other. She's a year older, in grade. I think she was a grade higher than me. And we never met or anything. I mean, I'm sure we might have crossed paths at like a party when we were in high school, but we'd have no idea. But, when you travel with someone who's your age and you travel the world, you just become best friends. And she's really one of my best friends. I have more photos of her with her than any of my other, my best friends I've known since I was, in grade school. So, she's just like a sister to me. We know each other. We travel so well together. We could go to Hong Kong or to Bali on just a vacation and we don't fight. There's not we could sleep in the same room. Like we just have the same, we just know each other so well, especially when you travel with someone as much as we do. And we're always together when we're tired or if we have a stressful day or if we're, whatever, hangry, or whatever girls call it. We're just, we're a good fit for each other. She we calm each other down or hype each other up. It's nice.
Yeah. Well, and you talked about growing up in Vegas, and I mean, my grandma lived in Vegas. So I spent a lot of time there, and I mean, just with my racing career, I'm in Vegas probably twice a month. But growing up in Vegas, I always wondered, and I've got some friends that did, and some kind of went down a bad path, and others, were all right. But there's a lot of pitfalls. I mean, how was it growing up in Vegas? And I mean, kind of take us through things, because you grew up there, you saw the Strip, and then you got a job working, and then it steamrolled into WEC. Take us through, kind of growing up, and then how your career, kind of the doors opened.
So, I mean, I think, growing up in Vegas, it's not, there's definite paths, and I was going down the wrong path when I was young. When I was in high school, I was just kind of the rebellious one, and the piercings, and I was just like tattoos and bitching, and I was not really that good of a kid, but I had, problems, with my, personal life at home. So that kind of, put a staple in what my future, I thought at that point, would have been, as far as going to school and everything. So right out of high school, I started a professional dance in the big Vegas shows, because I was a dancer. And that steamrolled into working with modeling agencies. And this was right out of high school. I didn't go to college right away. And I was working with modeling agencies, and then I got hired on with WEC, and I was a professional dancer at the Flamingo Hotel at a show called X Burlesque, and I also danced at the V Show, at the Aladdin then, now Planet Hollywood, and then I was with WEC ever since then, and just like working all these different jobs, and just working on the Strip and living off the Strip, and just putting my mind to work instead of going down a path that I was kind of going to in high school. I was able to switch it up after an awful incident, when I lost my father when I was in high school. I kind of just really shaped up my attitude and shaped up my life. And I knew I didn't want to, be like some of the people that that didn't necessarily take the right path and, didn't create something for their life. So I really focused on work and on staying healthy. And, and then when I was 21 years old, I was in a car accident, and I couldn't walk for 3 months, a pretty long period of time. So I couldn't dance anymore, but that's where I started to pick up painting, and I became, really obsessed with art, and I was actually a better artist than I was a dancer. So I was like, well, dang, as soon as I start walking again, how am I going to go back to something if I didn't, the passion wasn't there, especially since the accident. And, I was still with WEC at this point. And then, when I was able to walk, I was still with WEC, like I said. And then I moved to LA to go to art school. And at that point, I was with UFC. They've merged in just like that middle range of these two, these career paths that have changed. And I decided that dancing was no longer it. I didn't want to work on the Strip, didn't want to live in Vegas anymore. There was no culture. There was no art there that I really, not at that time, there wasn't. I moved to Los Angeles, which was close to Vegas, which is the UFC's home base. It was close, for flying, and it was close to my mom, and which was important to me, my family, which was very important to me. And then, I moved here to go to art school and put myself through school with all these, these gigs that I had, the money I'd made in Vegas, which you make really good money when you work there. But I found a really great home here in Los Angeles, where I've been for almost 8 years.
Well, and talk about that, because WC to UFC, I mean, there was a merger there. Was there any nerves on your point? And then this all happened about the same time, and I know Dana gave you some time off, right? I mean, was there any nerves with you, like all of a sudden they're merged and then you're asking for time off from Dana and, to go and pursue this art thing? I mean, how did that all come into play? I mean, sounds like he was super supportive, from a company perspective, but I mean, was there any nerves on your part that, hey, maybe this, this UFC job might not be there when I'm ready to come back?
Sure. Yeah. But, the one thing about Dana is he's a man of his word. I don't think he's ever not gone, I've never, in my experience with him, or even seeing from how he, what he's done with other fighters or other organizations, or like Dana's word is pretty thick. So I just had to trust him. And I said, listen, I'm doing this. I'm going to school. I was going to 4 different art classes a week. So that's 3 hours per class, and just all art. I was I was so into it that I couldn't do all the traveling. I wouldn't have time to pursue this passion that I have. And he said I could come back when I'm ready. And then as soon as I was ready, I got the cover of Playboy, and I said, I want to come back now. He goes, perfect, let's go. And then it wasn't even a question. And at that time I was so young and, a little naive, just kind of, I'm so grateful that I was able to come back. But, I was very naive, like, oh, yeah, no, it's fine. Everything's going to be good. But, I mean, I think deep down, if I was a little bit more mature, I'd probably be a little bit more nervous. But when you're in your early 20s, you're just kind of like think that, the world is your oyster and everyone's going to listen. But, I'm lucky that he did.
Yeah. Well, and, take us down the art path, because going through all those classes and things like that, I mean, I've taken a few art classes and I enjoy painting, but I'm horrible. But it's something like I can I feel like I can do it. And I can just kind of let my mind go when I do it. And it's very rare that I get the opportunity to, but I mean, taking through, obviously you had some natural talent. I mean, what does art class entail? I mean, do they teaching you different techniques? I mean, so your art is amazing that you're producing now. I mean, how different is it now than when, before you started taking classes and kind of morphed your craft?
It's a lot different. In school, it kind of taught me the basics of how to proportionate, a face and to actually draw, the likeliness of someone, if that's what I wanted, or how to use color. And color is something that I use a lot in my art. How to blend color, what kind of colors to use, what kind of paints I like. It kind of taught me the basics. And then from that point, just the basic outline. And then from that point, as an artist, you find your style, the thing that speaks to you. And, as an artist, I think that art should always progress. You should always grow as an artist instead of staying stagnant. I mean, that's my own personal opinion, and that's what I try to do with my art. So before I was in art school, I was doing very black and white and gray and just kind of this almost blocking of faces. And, through school, I started doing more realism. And then a little after school, I started incorporating color. And it's just like you just learn a technique and a certain perfection in your craft. But lately, I've been working on a whole new series of abstract work, which I'm so in love with. I've had a tremendous amount of fun, because usually when I paint portraits, you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't get the nose right. And if you mess up one little thing on a portrait, like it's really hard to, even the smallest difference in someone's eye or nose. I mean, you wouldn't understand unless you were an artist or a plastic surgeon or something, or even just anyone with an eye. If you see someone that had a nose job and it's the smallest little thing, but they look like a completely different person, that's how it is as an artist. If I mess up a little bit, so the pressure is always on when I'm trying to create someone, especially that people know, and I'm putting it out for the world to see. So I always get criticism, and it was hard. But now I'm doing these abstract works because I'm starting to work with an amazing charity called AMFAR, which I feel very strong connection with. And, they love abstract, and that's what's great to donate to charities. And I'm having a ball. I'm just throwing paint to the canvas and adding this, and I'm just doing this with music. It's lovely. It really is. I feel like I feel elevated and more creative again. It's like a whole, it's like a roller coaster. You go up and down, and, it's nice.
Yeah, well, and I know your stuff, it seems like it just has a different feel than anything I've seen before, but one that pops out of my mind, and I think it's one you did recently, and I really liked it because it merged, you brought in LED lighting, but it was that boombox you did, and it brought in the lighting, and it was different, and it was one of those, I haven't seen it in person, but I'm like, that's got to be just kind of walking up, just kind of whoa, it stops people in their tracks.
So last year, I had a show. I had my own pop-up shop during Art Basel in Miami. And that was my star piece. And I wanted to create a really, really great piece because it's a pop-up shop. So I wanted this piece to kind of be towards the window so people would walk by and stop. And you're right, they did. And it worked. But it was just, I did, right now I have a lot of my paintings that are hanging at the W Hotel in Hollywood. And there's probably 4 in the lobby, 3 upstairs, 1 in one of the suites, and then there's a mural by the bathroom, that's the hallway leading into the condos. Anyway, it's in the W. And the mural that I painted in there was a huge boombox, and it was colorful and it was bright because the hallway before had different art that the hotel, wanted to change. And I created this this mural, and it was my first big mural. So I was really nervous, and it turned out awesome. I love that my idea for it, I just pulled it out. I was just okay, we should do navy walls, and we should do this and this. And we did it. And even, my boyfriend, who's an amazing artist as well, he was just he's like, Brittney, are you sure this is going to be good? And I'm like, yeah, no, it's going to be great. And it was, and it felt really, really good. So that kind of started the obsession with the boombox, and I have an obsession with music and everything. But actually, that piece, it moves. So since you haven't seen it, it was bought up, like seriously before the doors opened, someone bought it. But it moves with the rhythm of the music. So the speakers, they flash with the beat. So if you and I were speaking in front of it right now, it would be picking up our frequencies, and it would start like moving. It's an awesome piece. And I only had it for like a week. I couldn't really even enjoy it because then it was gone to Art Basel, and then it was purchased. But it was purchased by a really great collector who lives here in Los Angeles, and she's always down for me to come see it, so I get to visit.
Yeah. Is there any of these pieces you've ever gone, man, I wish like I could have kept that one?
Well, the boombox, definitely. Yeah. But I mean, yes and no. There was a Biggie painting that I sold 2 years before at Art Basel that I really, really loved, that I didn't get to spend a lot of time with. But I want my art to go out. Yeah. I like the idea that someone else is looking at something that I painted, and just to know that this is what I wanted to do. And I didn't come from a home that had, parents who were saying, oh, here's your college education, or here's this. And, I really worked really hard for where I am. And I've had so many trials and tribulations throughout my life, and to see and to know that like it's paying off, it's so worth it.
Yeah. Well, and I know you, and it's right front and center on your website. You do a lot of commission pieces. I gotta ask, how many do you get? And there's got to be some random stuff that pops through, and you're just like, no, I'm not touching that.
Oh my gosh, there's so many randoms. I don't do as many as I used to. The ones I'm doing now are very, very limited because, like I had mentioned, I'm working with AmFAR a lot, and I'm doing a lot of donations, and I'm kind of trying to keep the paintings at a very, special kind of, special limited number. But, I think that the only ones I've ever really turned down, I don't really ever turn. I think if somebody had sent me, like, someone wanted, like, a nude painting of myself, I think I've turned that one down. Just because I haven't painted. Well, tried to paint myself before, or maybe I've done it like once or twice, and it's always hard for me to create a self-portrait. But, there's always random requests and stuff, but I have a really good team, so they monitor, like, what I see and what I don't see, so that, it's nice because I have someone that's there, and he's just like, he'll show me the things that matter. There's special things. Someone wanted me to paint their dog who had passed away, and I wasn't able to do it, unfortunately. But, there are times when, you really try to capture something for someone that means so much. There's this one commission, this guy, he lives I believe in Canada, and he commissioned me to paint Bob Dylan, young and then old, and that was for his father who just died. And so I captured it, and he sent me the nicest email back just saying that he was crying when he got it, and he just felt his father there. And those are the moments that you like, I actually gave him like a really great deal on the commission because he was so, I know what it feels like to lose a father. Yeah. So I was going to make it work no matter what. I gave him like 2 for like whatever, a good deal. And in those moments when you read how grateful they were, you just makes it all worth it. You feel grateful that you have that opportunity to touch someone like that.
Yeah. Well, and I saw too, obviously I'm a race car driver, but I saw you did a helmet a while back. How was that working on a helmet? Because I know a lot of helmet painters, and it's a unique, with the curves and things like that. It's a unique setting to do artwork. How is that painting a racing helmet?
It was so nerve-wracking. Thank goodness for the gentleman who commissioned that. He was very patient with me. I didn't start that thing I probably had it for months before I even primed it, because I was so nervous on like what to do. And, because the kind of art that I do is, it's a portrait, or, it's hard. And I work a lot with water and acrylic, and you can't use water and acrylic on plastic. It just falls right off. It won't, especially when it's curved, like you said, it's a ball, it'll just roll right off. So that was stressful. So I had to use spray paint, and that was like the first time I'd ever really started playing and using a lot of spray paint and trying to have it controlled. And it's not like I had a practice session before, so I knew what I was getting into. So it was really like it was like my one shot, and it worked. But it was fun. It was actually really nice to create a smaller piece and to see it come out the way it did. And I had it professionally sealed. So that's cool. To make, so it's like water, wind and air and water resistant. And yeah, I've done one since after that, which I have here at my house. Actually, I have two. I've done two since then, which I have here that I'm able to just stare at, but eventually I'll sell. But yeah, it's fun. I always like working with different objects. I've painted a guitar before, which is really cool. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Well, a guitar, that had to have been rad because, I mean, you're very influenced, like you said, by music. So, painting on a guitar, that's just got to be an interesting medium for you and really get to use some creativity with that.
Yeah, I painted Jimi Hendrix on a collector of mine.
Nice.
He actually owns a guitar and a drum that I painted on him. So he has like a little collection of Brittney Paul. He has 3 of my pieces actually, and I painted a Boston album cover for him as well. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have different stuff to paint on, just to see, to test the boundaries and see if I'm what I can and can't do. And it's always good to put yourself to the test.
Yeah. So, I mean, with your art, obviously, I mean, things are taking off. I mean, I've been following your art for a couple of years now, and, and I know I just got your deck sent over to do this interview, and it's crazy the demand you're getting for your art. I mean, do you feel like that and your UFC career has kind of gone hand in hand, and you've kind of grown them both together?
1,010%. One of my first shows was called The Art of Fighting. It was during the Fan Expo. How many years ago? Gosh, 5 years ago, maybe 6, maybe, well, around then, I don't know. About 5 years ago, it was The Art of Fighting, and it was in downtown Las Vegas, and it was with some really great artists, Justin Bua and BK, and some of Lorenzo's collection was in there. Lorenzo had I think an Andy Warhol was there, and I actually had 5 paintings at this show at a great, the great spot that they put me in. And I was hosting for Fox. So not only was I one of the artists there, and it was UFC's Fight Week, so I was the ring girl as well, but I was also the host for Fox, for the sports network. So I was hosting the whole show, and like they 100% have all gone hand in hand. And, UFC is very supportive, and the fighters are very supportive. I created a painting for Mighty Mouse. His wife actually commissioned me to paint his portrait, which is hanging in their office. And I know Ronda Rousey, she's given me love, and, it's nice. It's all worked together. And this was my plan the whole time, working with UFC and doing art. Like I realized, and that's how I kind of became an artist. I would post things on, I think, Twitter. At that point, there was nothing else out. And fans would say, "This is awesome. We should work. Is it for sale? Can we buy it?" And I was in Vegas, and I was like, "Holy shoot, I could make this a career." And then, so I think that it's definitely hand in hand.
Yeah. Well, and, you mentioned something about, a lot of support from the UFC, and I kind of want to circle things back to your career in the octagon there, but it seems like you and Ariane, and then, a lot of the, new girls that are coming in. I mean, obviously you guys are kind of the OGs, but it feels like there's no competition really. You guys are all really supportive of each other. And, I've been around, different industries where it's so backstabbing, and it seems like UFC and what you guys are doing in particular is so not that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, we all have different things going on, different lives. And, Ariane and I set a pretty high precedent on how we all should treat each other. When any new girls come in, now mind you, when I came into the sport, it was a way different story. Okay. Cause there was their whole little crew. Cause, when I came into UFC, it was Shandela and Ariane, and then you had whoever else was there at that time. So it was a little different when I came in, but now, we just are very accepting to anyone that wants to come in and supportive. And I always feel that it's important to do that because, girls, we should all be on each other's side. We should all have each other's back. There's enough room, and there's enough of everything to go around. And people sometimes don't think that there is, but there is plenty of money. There's plenty of careers. There's plenty of opportunities. Sometimes people get so locked in, I think, with social media that they think that, everyone has to remember, your Instagram is pretty much the highlight reel of someone's day. It doesn't mean that their whole days are always like that. And you think that it is, that therefore your day sucks. And, they have this and you don't have that, and it's really hard. So I think it's important to have everyone know, and, you know, and to treat everybody like there is plenty to go around, including like support and love and happiness and light. And I think that's a good message.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you mentioned that. I just had that conversation with a really high-profile action sports athlete. And it wasn't on air. It was just us personally talking. And we both travel, and we're gone, you know, just about every weekend. And, you know, people think you have this amazing life, and they don't see the struggles behind it. You know, it's like we say, we've got a great Instagram life. You know, and not to say I don't have a good life, because I have an amazing life, but it's like people don't see the bad stuff. Like you said, it's just the highlight reel, you know, and it's like getting people to believe that, you know. It's like, no, like we put out the fun stuff, you know.
Well, I mean, especially with what's happening, you know, in the past week, you know, with the really, you know, tragic, you know, incidences, you know, of the suicide rate. You know, they come across outside that they have these great lives and they do these great things, but you just never know. And I think it's important for everyone to just treat everybody and support everybody, because, you know, you just never know.
Yeah. Well, and here's a question. I mean, you and Ariane both, I mean, you guys are, you know, I think of UFC, and you guys are kind of the faces of the company. You do a lot of appearances. Obviously, you're on every pay-per-view. You know, some fighters, they get to do 2 pay-per-views a year. It's a big deal. You guys are there pretty much day in and day out. I mean, do you feel any pressure to, you know, to prove yourself? I mean, because you guys do a lot more. I think a lot of people on the outside looking in, they think you just show up and hold, you know, a card, and you guys do so much more than that. I mean, is there a lot of pressure that goes along with it?
Well, I mean, for instance, this past Saturday, Ariane and I had a 2-hour signing, but we had an hour call time before then. So our day started at 12 and it ended at 1:30 in the morning. So even though we're walking around, we're taking photos with everyone and being happy and standing in the Chicago, you know, humidity. And then we're going backstage and we're in hair and makeup. And then we're, you know, so hungry for like 8 hours, and, you know, we're walking every fight. We don't get to go and get like a beer and have some popcorn and some nachos. Like, we have to really be on and be camera ready at all times. It, you know, it does have its pressures, but at the same time, the reason Ariane and I have been there for so long, and the other girls as well, I mean, you know, they've been there a while as well, but we've been there for so long because we take it very seriously. We know about the sport. We know what they're doing. We could call the fights if we wanted to. We're huge fans of the sport. We know how to speak eloquently, and we can represent the sport. So that's why we've been there for so long. It's, you know, no other reason than that. And people could say, you know, oh, they're only doing this, and that's fine. And those are the people who don't really know the sport. You know, and just what you said, which is a very smart observation, it does entail a lot, and staying in shape. I mean, Ariane and I have been doing this. You have to stay bikini ready like all year round. Yeah. We have fights every month, so there's not really a time we can slack off. When I say I'm going to the office, it's like I'm going to the gym. I mean, that's how serious that we both have to take it. And we always switch up workouts and diets. I mean, not diets, but just eating habits. We have very healthy eating style, you know, lifestyles. And I think it's important, you know, to create that kind of surrounding around your business. And I feel that if you can find something that you're passionate about and you truly love, then it's not like you're at work, you know, just like with art with me. Like, I don't feel like I'm at work. And it's the same with UFC. It's fun. Ariane and I have a blast. I get to go hang out with my best friend, go travel the world, get to watch one of the most exciting sports, in my opinion, front row, and get paid for it. It's just like, and I made this life for myself, and it wasn't given to me. I created it.
Yeah. What could be better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I put it out that you were going to be guests on the podcast. I got, I don't know how many fan questions. I picked 2 of them out. So I was like, well, okay, we're going to do a couple of fan questions here. I was like, we'd be here all day if I put out every single one. But the first one was from a female listener, and she wanted to know, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying, you guys are always in shape, and she kind of recognized that. She wanted to know what basically your fitness and your diet, you know, going to the gym, your fitness regimen, your diet, what that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Well, first of all, I am not naturally thin. So that's a very, very important thing. Genetics are important to understand. So I have to always be very careful. But I don't eat meat. I'm a pescatarian, so I only eat fish and barely eat fish. It has to be a really good fish, or like from someone who really knows how to cook it, because I can get skeeved really easily. So it's a kind of a challenge for me, but it also forces me to eat a lot more greens and everything. So that's my diet pretty much. I'm not a big alcohol, drinker, maybe like once or twice, maybe 3 times, I don't know, a week, but like, it's very, I try to take it easy on that, especially the older I get. And I hate feeling like crap the next day. But as far as workouts, I'm like an avid spinner. I love going SoulCycle. I love yoga. I have memberships at every single different kind of class pass, and I go to try all different group classes and, yoga classes. And, I just like to switch it up. Orange Theory and Berry Boot Camp. I like to hike. I just try to switch it up every day. I don't like doing the same thing every day. I feel like my body, especially now, has changed a lot more since I've been more like strict with when I wake up. I'm like, okay, I did spin yesterday, so today I'm going to do yoga, and then tomorrow I'll do running. And then, I just kind of like every day, like mash it up a little bit.
Yeah. So question number 2, and this one was actually something I wanted to ask anyway, so it worked out great. But I know you've got some favorite fighters, so you can kind of give us a lowdown on that. But what you've been around some amazing matches, some history-making UFC matches you've been ringside for. I mean, any of them stick out in your mind that you're like, wow, I just witnessed that?
I mean, can I be honest? The fight that just happened in Chicago with Holly Holm and then the main event were so epic that it kind of like, I mean, I've seen some great fights. I loved watching Uriah Faber back in WEC. He was always so exciting. I loved Anderson Silva and Chris. I mean, there has been some great fights, but I mean, I was so in awe of Holly Holm this past weekend, and just her ground game was on point. Just the way that she was completely controlling that whole fight. I was sitting right next to her coaches, and I was just like, God, what? And then it was great because I was even saying during the fight that the relationship she must have with these coaches was everything that they said she was doing. I mean, verbatim, like within instance, she was just like, oh, you want me to do this? Boom, I'm doing it. Like, it just seemed so effortless to her. And then after, when, she won, she actually, said that this was for my team. And I could see that there is such a great relationship that they have. As far as favorite fighters, I mean, obviously Holly Holm. I love Anderson Silva. I mean, Connor was always exciting to watch. I really loved Ronda when she was in. She was really exciting as well. We have some great stars, and John Jones was great for a long time as well. Like, it just really depends. It's hard for me to narrow it down because I get to see, and I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to see all of these amazing athletes, and they work really, really, really hard to be in that position. So it's hard to really choose a certain favorite, but I mean, I have tons of them. Yeah. They change all the time as well. We get new stars all the time.
Yeah. This is a wild card question. Personality wise, and I'm not saying you necessarily have to like them. That's not something we're going to get into, but you've got guys like Connor and Chael Sonnen in the past and things like that. Who's mic work? When they grab the mic, are you like, I have to hear this?
Connor.
It
has to be Connor. I mean, he's just so rowdy. I mean, some people love it, some people hate it. I just think it's exciting. It's different. That's what fighters do. That's what they do in boxing. I mean, that's what they do in UFC. It's just it starts commotion, and you could feel it when they get on. Even this past weekend, when fighters come on the mic and they start ranting and going off or whatever, you could feel it, just like a vibration through like the whole audience, through your body, and then onto the octagon. It's amazing. And you just create all of this different vibes. Like, some people are angry, some are happy, they're screaming. You see Joe Rogan like looking at him like, uh-oh, here we go. It's just like exciting. It just kind of, it breaks it up. But then also there's amazing, like Brian Ortega, who's like a really great guy. Like, it just depends. Sometimes you could do, or Holly Holm, who like almost made me cry this past weekend. It just depends. They all have different styles. They all can't be aggressive and confrontational. Then they all can't be really, really kind and great team athletes and team players. That's the nature of the beast. That's why I love UFC. It's so different. It's mixed in so many ways, and I like it like that.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Obviously, you're working with UFC, your art. I mean, is that something you plan on doing for the next, however long it lasts? I mean, what's next for you? I mean, what would you like to be doing, in the next couple of years?
Well, right now I'm doing a lot of donations with AmFAR. I just got back from Hong Kong where I donated a painting that sold for $38,000 and it went all to charities. So that's amazing. I want to stick on combining art with philanthropy. I think that is important. If you have a gift or if you have something extra that you could do for whatever organization that, that strikes you, I think that's very important to stick, and it's fulfilling. I feel very fulfilled. I have a clothing line that I've created, and it's on my website at brittneypalmer.com, which I am incorporating art onto shirts. And I have an art book that's coming out in the next couple weeks, which that's all I can really say until it comes out. And collaborations with big brands. I was fortunate enough to work with Reebok last year at the Fan Expo. So, and it was really fun to see that. So I would love to work with big brands and, creative directing and art design and just, kind of keep on.
Yeah. One thing that, before we let you go, your clothing line, you mentioned that. I was reading. The funny thing is a lot of people, they do a clothing line and it's like, they just hire somebody, they buy something, slap their logo on it. Like you've actually been this stuff, you're very involved in it. This is Brittney Palmer clothing.
Oh, yeah. I've designed all of it.
Yeah, this isn't you just slapping a logo on something. And I think, how has that been? Is that's got to be a pretty fun process.
It's fun. It's really fun. I did everything. And the shirts, they're not just like, American Apparel t-shirts. No, these are like pulled designs and they're different fabrics. They're very soft. The quality is mind you, it's more expensive to buy that quality. And the price point that I have the clothing at isn't a high price point, but I don't care. The difference of, let's get a cheaper shirt to make more money. It's not about the money. This is about my brand and it's about my art. And every single piece is hand chosen by me. They're all different. All the shirts are different in some way. The art's by me or it's by an artist who I know I had in my show last year that is just limited numbers. And yeah, it feels nice. It's cool I always do these little projects and, anyone that's followed me for years and I just kind of have I'm going to do this project and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this, this run of artist bombers, which they have their reversible bomber jackets that have my art printed on the inside. And that was like a year project it took me to get. I had to have someone go to China, find these jackets, bring them back, pick the ones I wanted, put the design in there, send them back. It was a big process and they're all numbered and, they're very limited. Once they're done, they're done. I'm not going to create those jackets again. So it's nice. And I always like to have these little fun projects. I'm very kind of sporadic and I'm always doing something different. I'm always on the go. So it's good for me to not just have one thing. I have so many different, I wear so many different hats and it makes my life a lot more manageable, which is weird because I'm doing so many, but I like it.
Yeah, I get it. That's me. I wear it. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm doing something different every single day, and I think that's what gets me excited to wake up every day because you never know what's going to come at you during the day.
Exactly.
So, well, I appreciate the time, Brittney. Thank you for coming on the show. I guess when will we see you next? UFC 226, big one coming up next month, right?
Yep, in July, Fan Expo. I have a week full of appearances, and my big surprise is launching then, so everyone will have to stay tuned. And I have a really, really fun project coming up. So that's when I'll be there next.
Man, such a good time there with Brittney Palmer. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Thanks to her for being my guest back in the day. I think it's time for a follow-up with Ms. Brittney Palmer. We'll have to get on that. But once again, go over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe. I'm at JimBeaver15 on social media. Don't forget, we all know you own or rent your home, but we all know it's hard work as well. But bundling policies with Geico isn't. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners and renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. And don't forget, Meguiar's has a hybrid ceramic solution for everyone. For incredible water beating and protection and durability beyond traditional waxes, is ceramic made easy. It's Meguiar's. And with that, we're going to sign off this week right here on Project Action on Podcast 1. Got, I don't know, we got a whole lot more to come here. New guests, big guests. It's going to be an all-star lineup here the next couple of weeks. You don't want to miss out right here on Project Action on Podcast One. Have a great week, safe weekend. Watch the McGregor fight, and we'll see you next time.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And welcome to T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio Podcast. The most fun you'll ever listen to while you're folding your clothes. Now let's get this straight. This is not your average podcast. T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio is super fun, super crazy. It's pretty much an in-your-face conversation. That's the good thing about us. We don't do interviews. We do conversations. All of my guests, all of my co-hosts, we chill. We drink, we play games, we have the song of the week, we have the creative curse word of the week, as long as you're having fun as our guest. Speaking of guests, each week I'm going to go through my whole contact list and dive head first into the world of music, gaming, exotic cars, tech, strippers probably, doctors probably strippers that are only stripping so they can pay for tuition to become a doctor. You never know. My wife is a certified bartender. She'll make you a drink while you're here. We'll get you drunk and make you play VR after. It's a lot going on. But that's what it's all about over here at T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio Podcast. See you soon, baby!